Umesh from Malaviya, where he has.
Thank you. So, very good morning to all of you and welcome to JNU. I have experience of taking the classes online through HRDC and MMTTC now. And I have been sitting in the audience earlier. I have done refresher and orientation from the same place. So I know your feeling, but the feeling from this side is different. Okay, I hope that you will also come this side sometime. And you are on that trajectory basically. So welcome to JNU Pair Network. And today's class is actually not a class. It is a discussion. And if we do discussion, it is better. I know that we are the colleagues, and some of you might be knowing better than me, and I respect that. And it is knowledge sharing basically. That is what we are going to do. And if you have any question at any place, please raise your hand or ask me. Let's make it a discussion, not a monologue. Okay. This is what format actually I prefer and like to have during the lecture. So we'll talk about ethics. So ethics related to research and ethics related to publication. Okay. So these are the two vital components of our career as a scientist and as a professor. And when we perform research, many a times we go through dilemma. That dilemma also comes in our personal life, right? Many times you are stuck in a situation, what to do, okay? And you take action based upon your experience. Although there are, certain teachings, guidelines, moral values that you have been inculcated since your childhood, right? Your parents, teachers, society, elders, they have all been instructing you in terms of having a good moral outlook. Okay. For example, if somebody is injured, lying on the road, and you happen to pass by, going to the office for your duty, as soon as you see a person lying down with injury on the ground, the first thought comes is of empathy, and then you think of helping him. Everybody thinks of helping him, but then something of higher priority comes into the mind, that I have to reach to the office on time, that I have to submit certain assignment, that I have other things to do, and that somebody else will help him. All this thought comes in your mind. And you take action based upon your experience, based upon your priorities. And at that time, the moral or ethical guidelines take a seat back. Okay? So whatever we learn today, that will help us make a better judgment in that kind of situation. Okay? So this is the a real life scenario, but we have a career where we perform research, and there are many ethical questions also that concern you during your research. Okay? We will look at that aspect also. Alright, so do we have slide mover? No? Okay. चल रहा है. Okay. So the outline of today's discussion is that we will talk about general principles of ethics. Then we'll talk about intellectual honesty. What is intellectual honesty? We'll then enter into the domain of bioethics. So first we'll talk about ethics, then we'll go to the bioethics, and we'll talk about its implication in the medical and biological research. We'll talk little bit more about research ethics, Then we'll enter into integrity in the research. What is the integrity in research? And at the end, we'll talk about the research misconduct. Okay? So to begin with, what is ethics? We have this high moral value word called ethics, and usually everybody has a different definition of ethics. Although we come across different definition, we need to arrive at a consensus, right? Which everybody thinks on the same parameter what ethics is actually. So when it comes to defining ethics, in general terms, we call it the norm of good conduct in a given situation. So this given situation is very important, and it is very dynamic. Okay, situation keeps changing. But then in the changing situation, what is expected is what are the norms of good conduct you are following in that changing situation. Okay? And it gives you an ability to distinguish between what is acceptable and what is not acceptable behavior in a given situation. Okay? So you have, as I told you in the beginning, a moral value taught since in your childhood that has set up a ray of thought in your brain or a guideline in your brain which helps you make certain decisions in a given situation which could be acceptable or unacceptable behavior. Okay? What is acceptable behavior? When you perform in a given situation, acceptable behavior means the people or the society agree with your behavior. Okay? Unacceptable behavior that they do not agree and actually they have different opinion than you. Okay? So when we call about ethical good conduct, it has to be acceptable by the larger group of people or the society. Okay? Because everybody has a connotation of the moral value that what is good and what is bad in a given situation. Okay? Simple example that we are all told that don't lie, don't steal, don't harm anybody. Okay? But then in a given situation, if you do the same thing that has been prevented to be done, that will be unacceptable because everybody has the same norm and you are taking certain decision which is not acceptable as per that norm. Okay? So that will not be considered ethical according to that norm. Okay? So as I told you, it is a dynamic concept. It involves standards and practices that guide us to act in a specific manner in a given situation. Okay? So ethics it involves certain standards and certain practices which help you act in a specific manner. Okay? So it requires knowledge, skill and training. If you do not have the knowledge how to act in a given situation, if you do not have a skill to navigate through that situation, or if you have not been given any training, you will struggle to make a good decision, or you will struggle to distinguish what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. So in the various disciplines of academia, we study ethics, whether it is philosophy, theology, law, psychology or medicine. Okay? Every stream has ethical guidelines. So, and once in a while we do come across different ethical disputes in our profession, in our society, in different domains of our day-to-day life. Okay? Certain examples are given here, that ethical issue related to abortion, capital punishment, use of genetically modified organisms for consumption as a food. These are the different social dispute. Okay? You will all agree that taking a human life and killing somebody is not ethical, right? You all agree. Do you agree, or anybody has a different opinion? Preserving human life is a paramount objective of human society. But still, there are scenarios where we kill people by choice. Right? For example, a criminal is given capital punishment. We all agree that human life is precious. But then we kill a person because he has committed certain mistake. We kill a person who is not yet born. We kill a person who we think is not worth living. Euthanasia. Right? So in different situations, we are actually defying our own norms, our standards of ethics. Okay? And these are very debatable issues. Many societies have banned abortion. They have banned capital punishment, that a person who is evil can be modified. Why to kill him? Right? If somebody becomes a person, evil person, that is because of the situation. They are not inherently evil. So therefore they can be modified. So why to kill? So with that argument, many countries have banned capital punishment. Abortion is also banned in many countries. In the United States, if you follow the news there, they totally banned abortion unless and until very exceptional case it is likely that the embryo or the fetus is not likely to survive after birth. In that situation they might, because they have very advanced medical technology, they can assess. They do not abort just because a person has Down syndrome, just because there is a mutation and person has no limb. They do not abort, they still give the birth, because they have the system which can care for those kind of people. So they think that life is precious and this should not be aborted. Okay? And there is a lot of ethical discussion in that country related to, when the ova is fertilized, they think it is alive and it has to be preserved. Okay? So up to that extent, people go to prevent the loss of life. But in many other countries, we still have legal abortion up to 20 weeks or 22 weeks. We still kill people either by injection or by hanging. And now in India, we have started killing people whom we think are not worth living. Legal euthanasia. So these are different issues which, if you start thinking, it will disturb you. And you will wonder on which line, on which side you stand. What is your stand? So sometime I think as a knowledgeable person, as an academic person, we should give a thought to this kind of ethical issues. Okay? And make our own opinion based upon what the worldwide standards are. Okay? So many situations come and we struggle to take decision, and this is not a new thing. As if you see in the history, people have struggled through this kind of dilemma. So a lot of philosophers and theologians have prescribed different theories or principles to take the decision, which will help you take ethical decision. We'll briefly discuss those hypotheses, those theories. So the first theory is utilitarian, second is deontological, third is virtue theory or approach, fairness or justice approach, and common good approach. These are the 5 principles we will discuss today. There are many varieties or different types also you will find in the literature. We will, I will request you to read yourself, but these 5 we will discuss. The first is utilitarian approach of making ethical decision in a given situation. Okay? This approach was propounded by Jeremy Bentham and his disciple Stuart Mill in 18th and 19th century. Okay. Further, in 20th century, it was further spearheaded by Singer and Harris. According to this approach, the ethical action will produce greatest benefit and least harm. Any ethical decision will give greatest benefit to humans, okay, and least harm. Utilitarian means whatever can be good for people, utilizable for the people. So it says that greatest benefit should be for the greatest number of the sentient beings. Sentient means those who are conscious, those who have conscience. Okay. So greatest number. So this is the core of utilitarian approach, that we have to give greatest benefit to greatest number of people. Okay. It contains wide range of different approaches. So in this also we have 4 sub approaches. The first one is consequence principle. Okay, means whatever you do, whatever action you do, what is the consequence? So the consequence will define whether the action is ethical or not. Okay. If you are a doctor, okay, if you are treating a person in the clinic, if you fail to heal him, fail to make him healthy, you have not served the purpose, you have not served the duty, and your action will be judged on the outcome, that you have not been able to heal the person. Okay, so your practice will not be considered ethical. Okay, so what is the consequence of your action? That will determine if you provide pleasure, if you provide happiness, if you provide satisfaction, it means that your action is ethical. So consequence matters. You know, there is a saying that, you know, ends is, all means are justified if end is good, right? So this is what it is. If end is beneficial, utilizable, good, pleasurable, all means are justified. Okay, so this is the consequence approach. Second is utility approach. The moral rightness and wrongness of action are determined by the greatest possible utility for the greatest possible number of sentient beings. Means whatever action you are doing, what is the utility? Is it helping greatest number of people, providing them greatest amount of pleasure, benefit? That will be the action. So in that, actually you have different public policies. You know, DBT, direct benefit transfer. So the governments do DBT based upon this principle, that they give, you know, greatest number of people the benefit so that they can be helpful to them. Okay, so this is utility principle. Whatever action you are doing, if you are creating some facility which can help a lot of people. So if I can give you an example, our university approached industry to help us with certain creation of the facility. So they went to ONGC across the road on this side. ONGC agreed that we will help, we will provide some fund. You know, this is industry, corporates. But they gave a condition that whatever facility we create should be utilized by maximum number of students. Only those kind of facility we will create in the university. So what they created is chapati maker. You know, in the mess of the hostels, they gave the equipment to make chapatis so that maximum number of, greatest number will be benefited. They gave another machine for the health center where all the student and faculty go. So there also they served greatest number of the people from the university community. So what they are following? They are following the utility principle. Hedonistic principle. So this is the extreme of the utilitarian approach. Hedonistic means getting indulged into anything to derive the pleasure out of it. Okay? So the consequences of a given action are evaluated with reference to particular value, whether it promotes pleasure, it avoids pain, satisfied any specific interest that you may have, or certain objective criteria of well-being. Okay? So these are the 4 things which guide the hedonistic principle, in which the main aim is to seek the pleasure, avoid the pain. Okay? So any activity which can give you maximum pleasure will fall into this criteria. For example, avoiding pain, it goes to the extent that it recommends euthanasia, that why a person should suffer for the life, it is better to die. Okay? So according to hedonistic principle, euthanasia is very well justified. Universal principle, maximize total utility for all sentient being affected by an action. This is universal principle, means whatever action you are doing should be of utility for all sentient being. It should not be specific to a sector or section of people, or a specific caste, economic group, or different criteria. It should not be barred by any criteria. It should be utilizable for all sentient being. Okay? So these are the 4 sub-principles of utilitarian approach. I hope you understand it. Next approach is deontological approach. This is also called Kantianism. It was propounded by Immanuel Kant of Germany. He was the philosopher. He said that ethical actions follow universal moral laws. These universal moral laws are same across the countries, across the religions, across the social groups. Okay? What are these? Don't steal, do not lie, do not harm. These are the basic principles where the children are taught from the very beginning these principles, these very universal moral laws. Okay? So Kantianism says that these are the very basis of any ethical action. He also says that deontology approach is described as duty and obligation. Okay? It very clearly says that if you follow the rule and do your duty, whatever action you will do will be moral. As a doctor, you have to treat a person. That is your duty. It doesn't matter whether the person lives or dies. Okay? You are doing your duty. So when you go for a major surgery, they give you a form, consent, that I understand that I may die during the procedure. Okay? Because it is duty of the doctor to do the surgery, and there may be possibility that surgery may not succeed. Okay? So, but he has to do his job. His effort to not harm you, but to help you, to heal you, but the procedure may not be successful. But he will do his duty. As a teacher, you also do your duty. You teach students, you guide them, you counsel them. This is your duty. It doesn't mean that all the students that you teach, counsel and guide become very successful in their career, right? But you did your duty. So as long as you are doing your duty, it is ethical, it is justifiable, morally justifiable. Okay, this is what Kant says. And if everybody does his duty as prescribed, the society will be very in harmony. Okay? All the friction is only because people are not doing their job. So all humans are inherently worthy of respect and dignity. So it recognizes the human right, human dignity. Everybody deserves to be treated well. Okay? So if you are a doctor and you find that a person comes from downtrodden or from different religion or from different caste, and you say that no, I will not treat you, okay, because you are so and so, okay. It says no. As a human being, everybody has a dignity, every human has a right, and they should be treated as such, okay. So it concerns with what people do. Action or motive of action is more important than the consequence. You know, in utilitarianism you had consequence paramount. Here it is the action or motive of action. As I told you, surgery is an action, and the motive is to help the person, heal the person, okay. That is more important than what is the outcome of the surgery, okay. So here mean is everything, whatever is the end. You get the point? For utilitarian I said every mean is good if end is good, okay. Here I am saying mean has to be good, end doesn't matter, okay.
Sir,
Yes.
how we can differentiate between moral and ethics? I think morality and ethics. It's like that we are following some moral value. Is that ethical approach? Are there some differences between moral value and ethics?
Okay, so moral and ethics are two words which, as you get doubtful about their similarity or differences. So ethics is a larger term where different moral standards will be covered, okay. So if there is a standard moral norm that we should not lie, we should not harm, okay, that will encompass into the larger ethical domain, okay. So ethics concern many other things than only the morality, and it gives you knowledge, it gives you skill. If you read, if you study ethics, it gives you knowledge and the skills to take a good decision, acceptable decision in a given situation. Sometime morally you may be correct, but that may not be ethical, okay. As I told you, in different approaches, initial example I gave you, that a person is lying on the ground injured and you decided to attend the office rather than helping him. You can justify your action, okay, because your duty is paramount, okay. So that is why I am discussing different approaches, that how people have seen these actions in their own principles, like deontological or utilitarian principles, how to justify your action, okay. But these are the guiding lights. How you take your decision will come from the knowledge, from the skill, and from the training, okay. So that has to be practiced over and over again, okay. So these are the basic things. Alright, so next is fairness and justice approach. Here the propounder was Aristotle. He said, according to this principle, that equals should be treated equally and unequals unequally. Justice says that everybody is same in front of the law, or in front of law of the land, okay. Everybody is same unless they are unequal, okay. So he clearly suggests that equals should be treated equally and unequals unequally. The basic moral principle in this approach is how fair is an action. Does it treat everyone the same way, or does it discriminate or gives favor, okay. So ethical action should be the one which treats everyone the same. It does not give favor or discrimination, and except in the case where there is a morally justifiable reason not to treat the same, okay. So we discriminate at the level of the governance. We discriminate, we give the reservations to the people who are unequal, okay, who are not at the same social level as the others. Okay, there is a lengthy discussion on this. If we start discussing, the whole hour will go into that. But the basic thing is, if people are equals, they should be treated equally. If somebody has the parameter through which they can be called unequals, they should be given different parameter for treatment. Okay, this is, governments call it positive discrimination. Okay, so we discriminate positively in the favor of people who are not equally placed. Okay, and that is where the role of reservation comes, which the law of land are not only in India but across the world, every country does it. United States also has positive discrimination. UK also has, Australia has. So they have this positive discrimination to help their some sections of the society to uplift themselves, to bring them into the mainstream, to make them equals over a period of time. Okay. The last approach is common good approach. This also has link with Aristotle and Plato. Ethical actions according to this approach is those which benefits all members of the community. Okay, including the weakest and the most vulnerable members. Okay, so common good, actually this approach is taken up by the governments to create the common facility, like public hospital, education system, parks, law and order situation, so that everybody is helped in a way by the government. Okay, so it advances the common good and nurture a healthy and functional community by giving affordable health care, effective public safety system, peace among the countries, and a just legal system, a good environment, good ecosystem. Okay, so a lot of value are added by the government so that all the people of the country or the society are helped and they can avail this facility without any discrimination and be benefited from it. So that is the common good approach. As a person, you can also do common good. Okay, rather than throwing the waste just outside the door and cleaning your house, you can put it into a defined area so that it doesn't harm anybody else. So that way we are doing a common good. If we just spill it on the road, that may harm other people, so that does not qualify to be ethically correct as per this approach. Last approach is virtue approach, and this is last because it says that all human beings should aspire to become their best. They should realize their potential and become best in terms of the virtue. Okay, so virtues are the character traits that enable one to be and to act in a way that develops their highest potential. So if you achieve that highest potential, that state is called eudaimonia. Okay, means you are a very, very virtuous person. And the propounder Aristotle said that if you are a very virtuous person, whatever you do will be morally correct, ethically valid. Okay, so he suggests that everybody should try to realize or develop their highest potential as a human being. Okay, if you do that and if you become virtuous, whatever action you will perform, that will be considered ethical. So a priest is considered a virtuous person because he has achieved his potential. A professional, a teacher or a doctor or a judge, they should do all effort to achieve their highest potential in that profession, and if they do, whatever action they will do, that will be virtuous as per this hypothesis. Okay, so this ethics is actually person based. It is not action based. Earlier we defined the action, their consequences. Here it is the person. If person is good, the action will always be good. Okay, and he said that try to be a good person. Try to be a best person that you can be. And forget about virtue, ethics and everything. If you are virtuous, if you are perfect, everything will be fine. Okay? So he appeals you to become the best you that is possible. Okay? So right action and right motive should come together in this ethics. Okay? And right action and right motive can only happen when you are a virtuous person. Okay? For example, if a person is begging on the road, okay, or let me give another example. In the winter, I am taking the blanket and distributing it into the needy people on the road, and what is the purpose there? Why I am doing that? It is charity, basically, right? And it is good thing. It is considered a good thing. But if I make a video out of it and put it in social media to get the fame, viewership, likes, is it the good motive? No. So here the importance is that you may be doing a good action, but the motive is not right, and therefore it is, according to this approach, not good. Yes.
But sir, there is another mistake. That if everyone is doing the same, like if they are distributing and clicking the picture or showing the videos, then it might be bad, seen as a bad. But it might be, there is another twist that it
Motivation to others.
sometimes that it might be
If that is the motive, then it is good.
it should
But
most of the time it is not most of the time it is not motive, but it should be minimally, I think, shown.
so if you want to motivate people to donate, there are many other ways than just posting the video.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So virtue ethics helps us understand what it means to be virtuous human being. It guides for living life without giving up and giving us any specific rule that do this way, do that way. No. You just be a good person. Try to realize your all the potential, and everything will be fine. No problem. Okay? A good person will always do a good. If a person is very sympathetic, very benevolent, he will always leave the office and help the person injured on the road. He will take him to the hospital. Although he knows that he has to run to the court and police station many times to give the witness, but he still does it because he has the virtue. He has developed the highest potential of his life. Okay? All right. So these are the 5 principles that may help you in taking specific decisions in a specific situation. Now we come to the intellectual honesty, which is directly related to our topic. What is intellectual honesty? We are all intellectuals, right? We have gained enough knowledge to think independently, to theorize a situation, and to describe any complex situation, right? We are intellectuals. And that is what is expected out of us. But many times, people become dishonest in their profession. Okay? Why they become dishonest? There may be something which is luring them to become dishonest. Okay? Some incentive is there, right? For example, you want promotion, you just cook certain article and publish. You want recognition, you just create an army of people who can like your tweets. A lot of dishonest things people do for a particular incentive. Okay? So what is in that situation, what is the intellectual honesty? So it is beautifully defined by Louis Gunin. He is a ethicist from Harvard University. He says that intellectual honesty is a virtuous disposition. Okay? You see the virtue ethics, you can correlate. He says that it is a virtuous disposition to eschew deception when given an incentive for deception. Okay? So, intellectual honesty is a virtuous thing. it helps you fight the urge to, for an incentive. If any incentive is given and you do not hold your ground, you become dishonest. But if you hold your ground, no, I cannot give up my morals, my ethics for an incentive, then you are intellectually honest. Okay? Honesty in, for our research, where it is tested, honesty in acquisition, analyzing and transmitting our data, our ideas. Whenever we are performing the experiments, how we acquire our data, how we analyze it, do we analyze it with certain bias to support our hypothesis, how we communicate it to the people. Do we communicate to convince or do we communicate to inform? Okay, that tests the honesty. Knowing the truth and stating that truth as it is. You know certain data, and if you communicate that data as it is the honesty. But if you add or subtract from the data to make it something what you want to say, then it is intellectual dishonesty. It pertains to communication of ideas intended to inform, not to persuade. Okay? So, these are the parameters which help us define the intellectual honesty. All right? So, intellectual honesty can be demonstrated by ensuring that support of an ideology does not obstruct the pursuit of truth. I can be a supporter of an ideology, which is a different domain from my profession. If I am a teacher and I am mixing my ideology with my lectures and telling my student to persuade them in a particular manner, that is intellectual dishonesty. Okay, which is very prevalent across the world. Okay, so we have to ensure that our ideology does not come in or does not obstruct the pursuit of truth. Purposefully not omitting relevant facts and data even when they contradict one's hypothesis. You propose a hypothesis, you perform the work. In the midway, you find that whatever data you are getting is not supporting the hypothesis. You junk that data and say, or you try to change it to support the hypothesis. That is intellectual dishonesty. Research demands that data is the truth. If it is, of course, reproducible and repeatable, then it is a truth. You should not twist it. Take data and it is better to change the direction of your research rather than change the data to support your hypothesis, which will later force the people who are going to follow your paper to go into the wrong direction of the research. And imagine the time, resource, money that is put into the wrong direction, which is of no use. Okay, so it is always good to follow the intellectual honesty and look at the data, what data is saying, not your hypothesis. If data is supporting your hypothesis, perfect. But if it is not, then go with the data. It will take you to very serendipitous journey where most of the discoveries are serendipitous, and that may change your life rather than twisting the data to support your hypothesis. Acknowledging earlier work where possible and avoiding plagiarism. So if somebody has done something, somebody has said something earlier than you, and you happen to work in the same line, you should refer to them, give them credit, and then change it as whatever way you want it. Okay. For example, somebody has made a video. Now all the major principles that is established, you take that, you change it, and make a new thing out of it. But then from whatever you have taken accredit them. That is what can make the intellectual honesty. Okay, so in the absence of intellectual honesty, the academic research and scientific progress becomes very limited. It does not progress. And I will give you some example down the lecture. Okay, so research as a pursuit of truth. So whatever research we are doing, it is actually nothing but pursuit of truth. We are pursuing the truth, trying to find the truth. So when I basically define it, we see that the research is a pursuit of truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Okay, in the court hearing you might have seen, मैं सत्य बोलूँगा और सत्य के सिवा कुछ नहीं बोलूँगा, right? You might have heard it. So research is actually the truth. Okay, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and it has certain meaning. So what is truth? Truth is the data as the true fact. Whatever data you are getting from your research. The whole truth means excluding any part of the research finding might constitute the misconduct. Means you take the whole data as it is, do not exclude any part of it. Take it as a whole, the whole truth. जो उसमें से आपको suitable लगे वो नहीं, सारा का सारा, the whole truth. Nothing but the truth means you don't add anything extra to it, to maybe get some significance value or something. You don't add anything. If you add anything, it will not remain the truth. There is a share. Have you heard it? सच से कुछ घटा दीजिए तो वो सच नहीं रहता. मतलब आई एम टेलिंग यू द मीनिंग. If you remove anything from the truth, it doesn't remain truth any longer. And you can keep adding to the lie, there is no end. सच घटे तो सच न रहे और झूठ की कोई इंतहा नहीं. That is the same. So if you take little bit of the fact out of the data, it is no more a fact. It is no more a data. But for the fabrication, if you keep adding, there is no limit to it. So that is what it is. Nothing but the truth. Okay? So it gives us several obligations of research which emanate from its nature as the pursuit of truth and knowledge. Okay? So it gives us a very high responsibility. Stakeholder, you all know, the general public who is giving the taxes for our fund, research participants, if they are participating in the research, colleagues and collaborators, they are all the stakeholders, and funding institutions and our institutions and universities, they are all stakeholders. This is not all exclusive list. There are many other components who have a stake in our research. So we should realize that these stakeholders have trust on us, which we should withhold. Okay, so that was intellectual honesty. Coming to bioethics. Bioethics is, as you know, when we apply the ethical principles that we studied to the biological domain, it becomes bioethics. It is defined as the systematic study of human conduct in the area of life science and healthcare, insofar as this conduct is examined in the light of moral values and principles. Okay, so this definition is from Encyclopedia of Bioethics. It many times overlaps in the different field because there are different disciplines which has emerged, such as life science, biotechnology, medicine, health, public policy, etc. So many times they overlap in between. Okay, so bioethics is nothing but a applied ethics that is applicable, its philosophical, social and legal aspects are applicable in medicine and the life sciences. It is defined as the field of study that concerns with the ethics and philosophical implication of biological, medical, technological and treatment related things in different biological and medical practices. Okay, and these dilemma or problems keep cropping from time to time in terms of genetically modifying the plants, animals. Now we have a lot of very advanced technology that we can edit our genes, have the designer babies, although the same technology can be used for treating various health problems, but there are efforts people are taking to use the technology for doing something which is very debatable ethically in the society. Okay, for example, designer baby, you want a baby girl with blue eyes, you want a baby boy with high intelligence. So all these things are going to come up because technology is there that can do it, but whether it is needed. And you can keep discussing it, that when you want a blue eye or intelligence, do you know enough about how it is regulated and what will be the consequence? If you, for example, there is a lot of discussion about AI also, and people worry that AI might overtake and humans will be in problem. But still we are doing it, okay? And there should be proper discussion, proper deliberation to understand the consequences also, and accordingly the technology should be used, okay? If you do not give any thought to it and keep working on it, making it more in the name of helping people, advancing it, it might become harmful eventually. So all those things are debatable things. It will evolve over a period of time, but our job is to keep asking, keep introspecting, keep discussing its pros and cons, and accordingly make a decision. So I will not go into the history of it because time is little bit not on our side, but how bioethics evolved actually is, so although we find its mention in the prehistory, like our Charak Samhita has reference to it. One Babylonian inscription is there where it has been mentioned that how a doctor should ethically practice the medicine, and if he or she doesn't, there is a punishment for that. In the modern time, the German philosopher or theologian Fritz Zahr used this word bioethic when he published 3 articles subsequently in 27, 28 and 34, 1900, and he argued that it should be established as an academic discipline and it should practice a new and more civilized ethical approach to the issues concerning human being and the health and the environment. Okay, he proclaimed that everybody should be respected in principle and as an end itself, and treated accordingly wherever it is possible. So he gave the highest respect to the human integrity, and he said that if you respect human being in principle and as an end in itself, then everything will be fine. Okay, and he propounded that it should be taught in the colleges, universities, what is ethics, and that is where from it started in 1934 in Germany, and greatest violation of ethics took in the same country during the World War by the concentration camps held by the Nazi regime. Okay, many times where the good thought comes, that is eventually replaced by the bad action. Okay. All right. So this Berlin Code of Ethics is the one of the modern first coded ethical principle. It was promulgated by Kingdom of Prussia as a Berlin Code of Ethics. So as the science, as the health sector started developing during the Renaissance in the Europe, many people got educated. They became knowledgeable of how human body functions. They wanted to treat humans of the maladies or the diseases, and in that effort they were doing a lot of unethical things. Okay, you know, Louis Pasteur, he injected live virus to a boy to save him from what is called dog bite, rabies. Yes. So that was totally unethical. Today it is not acceptable. So during this period, a lot of people like this person, Albert Nasser, he admitted publicly that he has inoculated some of his women's patients with syphilis serum. Okay, just to see how the disease comes in the person, so that he can understand it. Motive was good, but the action was not good. You will find various references where people have been tortured. You know, I have read a book recently, Cancer, the Emperor of Maladies, where they have, the author has mentioned various extreme surgical procedures where people's tumors were removed from the body without anesthesia. A doctor, I forgot his name, he operated his sister-in-law for the breast cancer and opened the whole chest to remove the tumor and the limbs that were infected or metastasized. So all those things were done in the name of, understanding how the disease progresses, how we can treat them better, but then the means were not good. Okay? So because people are doing a lot of bad things, the King of Prussia promulgated this Berlin Code so that they can restrict these kind of practices. So that was the first thing. Later in Germany itself, where this Berlin Code of Conduct came, later on during the Nazi human experimentation, a lot of excesses were done. I would rather request you to read this page. It is very gross, very disturbing. So I will not explain this, but people were subjected to a lot of tyranny, a lot of medical punishment, I would say, to learn certain things, because the Nazi military wanted to understand how the bullet injury can be healed, how one can survive in the cold, extreme cold that is there, how because people were getting infested with malaria and other things, so how we can treat the malaria in the soldiers. So to understand that, they injected the live malaria in the people who were in the concentration camps to see how the disease is progressing, and they gave all sort of medicine. So this is very gross. I would not rather discuss it, but you can read from this one. So after the war ended, there was a trial called Doctor's Trial, where the committee developed a code, what we call today is Nuremberg Code of Medical Ethics. Okay, so this Nuremberg Code, I will let you know in a while what it is. It defined the ethical code of medical practices. Another example is syphilis study in Tuskegee University in Alabama, USA. There, the African American were told by United States Public Health Service that they will give them free health care for syphilis disease that was there in the black people. But the motive was not to give the treatment. Motive was to understand how the disease progresses. Okay? So the clinician wanted to observe the clinical natural course of the syphilis and left the participant to suffer. They said that this whole thing is for the 6 months, and they said that we will give you the treatment, but no treatment was given, only placebo was given, and the study, which was to last for 6 months, lasted for 40 years, from 1932 to 1972. During this period, many countries became independent. In the same America, there was civil rights movement, Martin Luther King, but they could not identify this tyranny that people were suffering. Okay, but anyway, in 1972, one whistleblower came up and he raised this issue, and the committee was constituted to investigate it. In 1997, one Hollywood movie was made on this, Miss Evers' Boys. You can watch it to see what it was. So the committee was a National Commission for Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research, which made a bioethical policy which is called National Research Act in 1974. From this National Research Act came a body called Institutional Review Board, IRB. Okay, so this IRB is now global. It is present in every country, in every institution which is doing the human experiments. Okay, if you are planning any studies on humans, you have to take approval from Institutional Review Board. JNU has an Institutional Review Board which is currently headed by, I think, Professor Sushil Jha of Life Sciences. So any work that you are doing on the humans, even if you are taking the blood as a sample, you have to take the approval from IRB. Okay, so Nuremberg Code, then in between came WHO initiated Declaration of Helsinki, and then this Belmont report which came from Tuskegee study. So what is Nuremberg Code? So this is the 10 codes. It actually resonates with the 10 commandments. They purposefully kept 10 codes of the Nuremberg. First is, and foremost, is the voluntary and informed consent. If you are involving anybody as a subject in your study, you should have their voluntary and informed consent. Informed means you should tell them very clearly what is going to happen during the study, so that they are aware and they can take their own decision whether they want to participate or not. Okay, so voluntary consent. Experiments should be such that it will yield fruitful result for the good of society. So it is not for the sake of doing the study, rather study should be oriented towards translation and should be good for the society. Based on the prior research, so whatever research you are going to do on humans should be done in the animal first, and you should know the natural history of the disease. So you should not subject a human to go through the natural course of the disease. Avoid all unnecessary physical and mental suffering. No experiment if there is a reason exists that death or injury can occur. Okay? Benefit should always more than risk. There should be adequate facility to protect the subject against any possibility of injury or disability or both, or death. Then proper qualification and experience of the researcher. Whoever is doing the study should be properly qualified and experienced. There should be right to withdraw the consent. If any volunteer wants to withdraw their consent, they should have the right to do that. And research should stop if there is a harm. So these are the 10 codes of Nuremberg Code, and it became basis for many following up research ethical guidelines across the world. Declaration of Helsinki was initiated by World Medical Association under the aegis of WHO. It was adopted in 1964 in Helsinki, and later on in 2013 it was revised in Brazil. The five main principle of the declaration is research with humans should be based upon the results from laboratory and animal experimentation. Research protocols should be reviewed by an independent committee prior to initiation of the research, that is IRB, I told you. Informed consent for research participation is necessary. Research should be conducted by qualified individuals, and risk of experiment should not exceed the benefits. Okay, this is the Belmont report which came out of the Tuskegee study in United States. Three more core principles are respect for person, beneficence, and justice. These are the core of Belmont report that every person should be respected, their rights should be respected, and they should not be subjected to any kind of harm or any discomfort. There should always be benefit from the study, and justice, which is added into it to include all sections of society. So Tuskegee study was actually done on the black people, and the result was to be applied on the white people, because syphilis was very problematic for white people in US at that time. So they used black people for the study to help the white people to get better. So this committee took special care of that whatever outcome is should be distributed justifiably in whole of the society and not to one section of the society. Okay, so these are the different ethical principles which emerged over a period of time across the world. And last one is the international ethical guidelines, which is called Council for International Organization for Medical Science. This came up with new ethical guideline, which is like all the country are signatory of this guideline, which is now implicated. And the main principle of these guidelines are there should be ethical justification and scientific validity for any research. Ethical review should be there, informed consent. Most of the things are taken from there, but one new thing was added here as that women should be added as a research subject, because most of the studies were being done on the human men only, and physiologically and anatomically women are different than the men. So this international guideline said that women should also be research subject, so that the health benefit related to their specific physiology can also be addressed. They should not be sidelined from the benefit of the medical studies. Then other things are mostly same. There is confidentiality, that if person is participating in the study, his data is private, it should not be made public, especially because now insurance has become important. So if their data is public, the insurance companies might not cover his expenses and all. Then compensation for injury is also added in this. If person is participating in the study, they should be compensated. And the sponsor should provide the healthcare services to the participant. So all these things are now standard across the world for medical research done on the humans. Okay, so this is just flow of thing, how the ethical guideline evolved over a period of time across the world. So the first was Berlin Code, followed by Guideline for Human Experimentation in 1931, then Nuremberg Code, Declaration of Helsinki, Belmont Report, and then CIOMS, and finally International Conference on Harmonization. So now this has become a standard across the world. All right, in India actually there are different bodies which control it. So the starting with the ICMR, it came up with ethical consideration involving research on human subject in 1980. This was further modified as ethical guideline for biomedical research on human subject in 2000, again 2006, and latest in 2017 it was modified. There is a Central Drug Standard Control Organization, CDSCO, which released Indian Good Clinical Practice Guidelines in 2001. So these are different acts and guidelines which have been promulgated by the government of India also to have the research done ethically in India as well. So this is the latest guideline of ICMR in 2017. This is available on the Google as a PDF. You can read it. Okay, so basic principle of bioethics is called principalism. The approach was given by Childress and Beauchamp. It says it has 4 components to it. First is autonomy of people's right, that everybody has respect and dignity and that should be honored. Then beneficence, that benefit must be more than the risk, potential good more than potential harm. Then justice, that whatever outcome of the study should be distributed across the society and not to just one section. And last is non-maleficence. So these are the 4 principles of bioethics that has been proposed, and it is called principalism. Now I quickly come so I will skip this. I quickly come to the integrity in the research. What is integrity in research? So I just took this quote of Albert Einstein, who said that most people say that it is the intellect which makes a great scientist. They are wrong. It is the character. Okay? So you see that all the highest virtue achieved people, I will call it, like Einstein, he says that it is the character which matters, not the intellect. And we also talked about the intellectual honesty. Honesty is a character. Okay? So it is the character which makes you a better scientist than an intellect itself. So why integrity? What is integrity and why integrity? So integrity actually is holding your ground, knowing your duty and being honest in your profession. So it says that when you foster a culture of integrity in which student and trainees as well as researcher and administrator, they have an understanding and commitment to research, integrity in research. Both individual researchers as well as the institutions have the responsibility. So individuals should inculcate ethical and moral character and experience in self, and the institution should create the environment that promotes the responsible conduct by embracing the standard of excellence, trustworthiness and lawfulness. So both parts are important. We as a professionals should inculcate moral and ethical characters in ourselves, and institutions should promote the responsible conduct. Okay? Then research and integrity can be maintained. So what is the responsibility when we try to inculcate integrity in our profession? That we should be intellectually honest. We have already discussed it. There should be accuracy in representing contribution to the research proposal and reports, fairness in the peer review, collegiality in the scientific interaction, including communication and sharing of the resources, transparency in the conflict of interest and potential conflict of interest, protection of human subjects, care of the animals, and adherence to the mutual responsibilities between investigators and the team of the researchers. So, are you comfortable with all this? Anything that you want to be explained? On the other hand, the institution should provide leadership in support of the responsible conduct. They encourage respect for everyone involved in the research, promote productive interaction between the trainee and the mentors, advocate adherence to the rules regarding all aspects of the conduct in the research, conflict of interest. The institution should anticipate and reveal and manage the individual and institutional conflict of interest. Okay, this is very important. Conflict of interest, right? Or you want me to elaborate on this? So, for example, if you are working on a drug, okay, and you have a collaboration with a pharmaceutical company gives you potential molecules and asks you to look its effect, say anti-cancer effect, and give the biological mechanism. Okay. Now the same company who gave you the molecule also paying you. Okay, and they say that results should be in our favor because we want to launch this drug in the market, and you comply. Okay, so that is at first intellectual dishonesty, and second, it involves conflict of interest because you are working for the company and helping them launch the drug. Okay, so whenever you are going to publish your finding, you should clearly indicate that I have received this much and this drug and this much of the compensation, so that the people who are reading your paper, they are aware of your potential conflict. That makes it very transparent. Okay, so that is what it is. So offer educational opportunities pertaining to integrity in the conduct of research, and monitor and evaluate the institutional environment supporting the integrity in the conduct of research. So this is the responsibility of the institution to support. Okay. So the last part is research misconduct. I will take maybe 5 more minutes, and I will have to skip very fast because time has gone. So what is research misconduct? So anything what is expected through the intellectual honesty and integrity in research, if you go beyond that, it falls into the domain of research misconduct. So it is characterized as questionable action or research practices that fall short of standard of ethics, research and scholarship required to ensure the integrity of research is upheld. Okay, so I will give you some examples. So this is the publication in Nature, 1st August 2025, India to penalize universities with too many retractions. Why retractions are occurring? There is a major component into it of the misconduct. There are honest errors also which result into retraction, but majority of these retraction is because of the research misconduct. This is the list, Indian institution of most retracted Scopus document. So list of the institutions and the number of documents which were retracted. Okay, are you looking for your university name? It is not there, don't worry. Okay, so if you see India Today, recently 6 days ago, India Today published this. India now dominates global research paper retraction with 6 universities in top 10. Okay, so the China is 40% of all world retraction. India is second with 887 retraction in 1 year, in 25-26. Okay. So this is the again according to the India Today, this is the list of the universities which have retracted most of the paper from India. Okay. So what it suggests, and the area from where the retraction have occurred. So investigation by the journal, they identified it. The unreliable result resulted into retraction. Reference issues or attribution that causes the retraction. Computer or AI based content resulting into retraction. Third party investigation. It happens a lot that I get the fund and I gave the fund to somebody else to give the data and I will publish. That is called third party research. China actually does many kind of. Do you get email from abroad that kindly write a manuscript for this for me, or this is the data, can you make a story of it? I get it usually. So that falls into third party investigation. Compromised peer review, paper mills. So these are different reasons for why the retraction has been done, and this is the domain from where the retraction has been done. So technology related publication, data science, computer science, material science, neurology, biochemistry, surgery. So different area have also been determined which area has maximum retraction. So these are all showing that research misconduct is actually very highly prevalent. Okay, so what are the types? Fabrication. You know what is fabrication? Anybody, what is fabrication? Manufacturing the data without doing anything, without doing any experiment, you create the data out of nowhere. Then falsification. You have the data, you have done the experiment, but then you add or delete. So that is falsifying it. Okay. Sach ghate to sach na rahe. Same thing. Plagiarism means you are taking somebody's idea, somebody's data, but not crediting them. So these are the 3 main type of research misconducts. And all these misconduct strike at the heart of the values on which the science is based. Okay, so this is AI generated image. So you need to give the command to AI to generate the image. So does it look like she is fabricating or falsifying? Okay, so you give the command to Gemini, Google Gemini, that a person is sitting in the office and trying to fabricate the data, create an image of such. So they create this image. Okay, so she is inventing the data. Means there is no experimentation, nothing, just inventing. So that is called fabrication. So fabrication involves making up the data or results and presenting them as part of the research study, creating false data set for or the experimental outcomes, reporting non-existence method or procedures, and when a researcher states that a particular lab process was done when in fact it was not, then it is a fabrication. Okay, the example is completing the questionnaire or fictitious subject that was never interviewed, creating a data set for an experiment that was never done, and adding fictitious data to a real data set collected during the actual experiment for providing additional statistical validity. That is all fabrication. Based on the fabrication, there has been retraction. So nearly 20 years after the publication of this paper on phytoestrogen in postmenopausal women, one of the authors said that the study has never been done and it was retracted. So one of the co-author came out and said that this study was never done. Okay. Then this is the data science where software engineer published a paper which was retracted later on. So this article facilitated debugging of web application through record production, appeared in 2017, but again there was no work done on this paper. Falsification is actually manipulating the research material, equipment or process, or changing or omitting data or results such that the result is not accurately presented in the research record. Okay. So here, so data has been acquired, but it is being falsified. Okay, manipulation. So falsification refers to modifying the and presenting original observation deliberately. Purpose is to distort the result. Falsification refers to unfounded modification or selection of the research results, and also refers to omission of the result. Okay, so you see many times fabrication and falsification also overlap. You know, you are not very sure it is fabrication or falsification, but they all also have very clear demarcation as well. So some examples of falsification. Okay, so these are the two groups, M plus chlor and M plus Jack plus chlor. So this portion that you see has been copied and pasted into this portion. Okay, so we see nowadays that there are many tools available which can match the images and identify the commonality. When we were child, we used to read the newspaper. उसमें एक section आता है, find the difference, 10 difference. So we spent around 10 minutes, 15 minutes to find the difference, and at times we could not find the difference. But these tools, these softwares, they can very clearly see which picture is being repeated in the images again and again. So that is how they have identified it. So here you see this portion, which is part of the control, is being copied and pasted in different sections and merged in such a way that it doesn't look like it is separate. Okay, so this is again falsification. Here also this portion has been twisted and made oriented differently and put in here. So a lot of examples. See, the same plot has been copy pasted 6 times. In this one, same here, same thing repeatedly put here, here again, the same thing copied and pasted here. So this is photoshopped. Okay. So this kind of misconduct is prevalent, which result into the retraction, and this is what actually bothering the authority. So this is the paper that actually has all these figures, and is published in very good journal actually. This is Cell Biology International. Alrighty. So last one is plagiarism, when you are copying somebody else's work, an idea, and this all retraction is because of the research misconduct. And if you see over a period of time, just type retraction in the PubMed and you see the number of paper retracted in every year, and maximum topped here in 24, it topped 23, it is 1100, this one here. And then now it is declining because of the awareness training and this kind of discussion that is happening everywhere. So it is declining, but it is still present. Okay, so the majority of cases being due to the data fabrication and falsification. Okay. All right. So this chart actually shows that sometime the misconduct appears as an error. Okay. When it is error, it is not a misconduct. Error can happen. Typographical error can happen. Some mistyping can happen. That should be treated as such. So when you see this chart, this here, on this side it is error. As you move on the right side, it becomes fraud. On the top it is unintentional. As long as it is unintentional, it is error. When it becomes intentional, it becomes fraud. Okay, so if you go down here, analytical error is still error, because when you are doing analysis, you don't know certain times that what tools to be used for the analysis. Okay, it could be error, and you can admit that I did not know, so whatever I know I did, but probably I need assistance from a statistician. So I admit my error, I will take the back and I will again get it modified and submit it back. Okay, so it becomes error. But when you have a conflict of interest and do not declare it, then it start entering into misconduct. When you have publication bias, when you have authorship misconduct, or when you have done these three things, it is all into intentional and then fraud, because it cannot be called an error. When you turn the Western blot from left to right and copy and paste it, it is not error. It is willful, intentional fraud. Okay. All right. So when undetected, false data and their general implication may push research field into a wrong direction. As I told you, if you try to make the data to support the hypothesis, which will be read by somebody else 10 years later, and when they hypothesize based upon your data, they will be totally wrong from the very beginning, and they will go in totally wrong direction, spending a lot of money, time, resource, which will be useless. Okay, so it will harm a lot. Therefore, it should not be done. Honest scientist may be outcompeted by the fraudulent one in varying extent. So the person who is doing the work honestly might publish slow. Those who are publishing dishonestly by misconduct getting promoted. And in the list you saw which university and where those promotions are being done based upon the fabricated data. Okay, that is actually harming the honest scientist. Okay, fraudulent data in medical research field may cause harm to the patient. Of course, general public may lose faith in science. Eventually, people will become more resistant to any new scientific idea, that it may be false. Okay, they will not trust anymore. All right, so how to avoid it? Maintain accurate lab record and maintain the raw data on the right in the lab. So you can tell your students to have a lab notebook, and when they acquire the data, they should write into the lab notebook itself with the pen. Okay, because when you write with the pen, any change you make will be visible. Okay, so that will be a very valid record. You can always cross-check the published data with the lab notebook data. So that will prevent any kind of misconduct. Engage in transparent and reproducible research. You should always reproduce your result at least 3 times. If possible more, but at least 3 times you have to reproduce your own data. Okay. So, and also when the student has done the work and gone, किसी ने PhD किया और वो फिर चला गया ग्रेजुएट होकर, नया स्टूडेंट आता उसको आप बोलो कि इसके काम को रिप्रोड्यूस करो. Okay. It should be reproducible in your lab because it was produced in your lab. Okay. So if you ensure that all the work that is being produced from the lab is reproducible, there is very less chance of any misconduct. Use plagiarism checker and statistical audits. So, being a biologist, you may not be a good statistician. So, at times you should take the services of a statistician of your university department and get your data audited statistically. Whether the tools, analytical tools that are used, the statistical method that is used is appropriate for that kind of data. Okay? So that analytical bias doesn't come. Role of peer reviewer. So all those papers that you saw published and later retracted, that shows the reviewers in the poor light. Okay, so peer reviewers' role is very important. They should identify the inconsistency at the very beginning during the review process and raise the flag right there. Institution must have the policies for the misconduct. So universities should have a policy that if misconduct happens, how we should handle it. We should give the opportunity to modify it, retract it. We should have punishable, criteria or disciplinary action, so that to resist or to dissuade people from doing misconduct. And supervisor must mentor on research ethics. So the UGC has actually made it mandatory to introduce a course on research and publication ethics, RPE, in PhD for all universities. You might have in your place also. Okay, so they should be taught on the research ethics, and that is how we can prevent it. So the parties which are involved in the production and maintenance of trustworthy academic literature and downstream parties affected by it, they should all be responsible for research misconduct, whether they are peer reviewer, researcher, academics, funder, regulators, publisher. They all are responsible for preventing the misconduct, so that the readers, the people and the community, they could be having reliable trust on the scientific enterprise. Okay, so practical recommendation. So for the scientists and the institutes, improve their education and in good science by using recent examples from the literature. Implement assignments in which the students have to figure irregularities themselves. So you can have your own method. Basically what I do is we have weekly lab presentations. So one student is assigned a paper, or they choose for themselves. They read the paper and come and present it. They don't have to focus more on what is the research finding, rather what is the problem in the research. So they have to criticize it, basically. What is not done properly, what is not actually required but has been done, because in the paper you find many data which is not actually required, but it adds up to the figure, so they are published. So you can start that kind of practice to train the students to look for the problem in the published papers. I'm done, sir. Okay, so this is all from my side. If you have any question, please let me know.
So this is also ethical issues.
Yes.
And so is there any strict law or penalties or punishment in India?
Yeah, so there is regulation by UGC in 2018 to maintain the research integrity in the higher institutions, higher educational institution, HEIs. So you can read that regulation, where they have categorized based upon the similarity index, they have categorized the punishment. So up to 10% of similarity index, you have no misconduct. But if it is more than 10 to 40%, there is a misconduct. And if it is the student doing it, they have a specific disciplinary action. If it is faculty doing it, they also have defined it. Whether the promotion will be stopped, or you will be barred from the guidance, or you will be barred from applying for the research grant, or increment will not be given. So you can read that paper, UGC regulation of 2018, where they have defined what is plagiarism, what is misconduct, and based upon the similarity index, you can do that. Another one on the government level, there is no established rule, but then government comes with the guidelines that you saw. I showed you one or two article where they say that they have to look at what kind of retraction is occurring, and accordingly they will issue the notices to the institutions and the universities to do certain things and not do certain things. So those guidelines are released from time to time in terms of the memorandum or notice or things like that. Yeah.
In the area of AI,
Yeah.
era of AI, how would you like to define research techniques?
Can you repeat again? Sorry, I couldn't.
So in the era, so now you know
In the
era of AI.
AI. Okay.
So how would you like to define research techniques?
Okay. So AI has become main tool for different kind of activities that we do in research, including not only writing of the paper, but formulating the research, finding the research gap, and many other things. Okay. So what I feel personally, because there is no specific guideline as such right now, which is there in the academia, what I find is that AI should be used judiciously. If you want to understand certain things from the vast literature, to save your time, you can use AI to comprehend it, and you can extract the main information and understand it. Okay, that is helpful actually, saving the time. So you have seen Three Idiots, right? The professor asked, what is machine? He said, anything that can save you time, make life easy, right? So AI is one of the tool to help you save your time, to apprehend, comprehend the large literature, which you will take maybe a week time to go through. So AI can help you do that. AI can also help you make the language more better, accurate, and understandable of the literature that you are writing. You can take the help. But when you ask the AI to write the whole thing, then it is misconduct. Okay.
AI or human, between the both the conflict of interest in research areas, like human जो लिखता है वैसा ही AI उसको ट्रेस करता है, लेकिन कई ऐसे रिसर्च हैं जो ह्यूमन ने लिखे हैं और उसको AI में शो किया गया, ऐसा क्यों?
Okay, so that is because our technology of figuring out whether it is human created or AI created is not as advanced. Okay, so it will evolve over a period of time. So it is the transition phase where the tools are developing, they are being trained, they are using the same kind of languages which human is using. So for example, if you have AI tool installed in your computer or the phone, if you use it quite often and regularly, it will get trained to act like you, to speak, to think, to write like you, and it will become more humanized over a period of time. Okay, then it will become very difficult to differentiate what you have written, what your AI has written. Okay, so this is challenge, but because the tool is developing, it is in process of becoming more advanced, it is really a gray area, as I think. Okay, so when you write a manuscript yourself and check it for the AI component, and it gives you 50% AI, you will be shocked how it is possible. I have written it, but then again you have to do certain effort to change it so that minimizes. Similarly, we do in the similarity index. We write it, but because of the many commonality in the words and phrases, we see that there is 15% similarity index. The regulation says that 10% or less. So we work on the text, rephrase it, change the word, and decrease it. Same way you have to do for AI also in the transition phase until the advanced tools come up. That is what else.
Talking about AI, so I have checked. So when the AI writing the text,
and people writing the text, the structure is somewhat different. That can easily be detected by the turning, and even practically we also see. So there is some structural change.
Yes.
And out of the 3 papers, the reviewer sent the review comment based on the AI. And we reported to the editor that this is the AI generated review report, so we cannot submit it. Because we need the comments that actually the error is there. So then the editor actually modified or then send the another.
Yeah. So you can identify the structure of the text and see whether it is AI generated. Certain words are also quite often used by AI but not by humans. Okay, that you can see.
Even image given, you see the background very carefully. The camera generated image and AI generated image. The text is
Yes. So you need an intelligent eye to pick those differences. Yes.
If you generating any background, their background texture is very different as compared to the because camera have different
So see, it is a phase where we are co-evolving. You know, AI and human intelligence is co-evolving. Down the line, I think it will.
Humanize AI.
You know.
That will be
So
critical to identify.
you have to bear during this transition phase, and maybe you are required to do little bit extra effort to make it look like human. You know, even if the tool is saying that it is more like AI. So you have to have patience and bear it. But eventually, I think AI tools should be used by the student for many good purposes, for comprehension, for ideation, for because it is a human generated tool. It is for the betterment of the humans. Okay, so you cannot avoid it. So if you cannot avoid it, integrate with it. It is better. Okay, but then we have to, as a nation, we have to develop policy regarding this, what to do, what not to do, how to do, and all those criteria, so that there is a uniformity. I as a honest, or you as a honest researcher may think that I will not use AI. Okay, and you become behind in the race. It is not good. Everybody should use AI. If you don't know how to use it, get trained. I myself attend online courses, like आप कुछ 25-26 रुपीज़ दे करके आप 1 घंटे का कोर्स देख सकते हैं, बहुत सारे अवेलेबल हैं. It is good to learn it.
Sir, most of us actually directly or indirectly using AI for writing article.
No, don't use it for writing the article.
No, even idea. It's not directly putting.
No, I actually personally I tell all my students to use AI. Okay, make the writing better.
Yeah.
But then after they have used it, they have to go through word by word and see whether what they mean to say is actually written.
And developing methods.
Yeah.
And understanding complex term from the AI.
Yeah.
So, this is the research article. Do we need to acknowledge the particular AI in the acknowledgement? Or
Yes. That is required for transparency. That in the acknowledgement or disclaimer rather.
Now, journalists are also asking.
Yeah.
You have to give the right acknowledgement.
Yeah. So you write there that you have used AI to polish the language to make it more comprehensible. Yeah.
so two of the papers I have seen they have acknowledged, and some of the paper actually.
Yeah. No, we are also acknowledging it. So thank you. So time.